A beautiful thing, but it's got a bad image. It needs you to fix the image. A tariff, we stop wars with tariffs. I mean, I had cases where I told a country they were being very aggressive with another country. It had nothing to do with us. I just don't like seeing dead people, okay?
We always say it on this show, and it is because it is so incredibly true. And that is that Donald Trump is his own worst enemy. Whenever he opens his mouth in a speech, press conference, or interview, it always instantly backfires. Always leaves him humiliated because he reveals how much he is losing it, how much he is deranged, how much he is completely out of it and exists in some other world with his deranged MAGA mindset and even his interviewers like the Fox propaganda network or the softball podcast he tries to do when they try to help him, when they try to make Donald Trump look somewhat competent, even they can't do anything. And that is exactly what happened today in Donald Trump's interview with Fox's Larry Kudlow, who did everything he can to try to save Donald Trump from absolutely humiliating himself and melting down. But he couldn't help Trump because he is just so deranged at this point. And even with all the ridiculous things that Donald Trump has said in speeches and press conferences and interviews this week, I think this one might have been the worst. And we are going to check it out. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, it really goes a long way in supporting our channel. Now let's check out this first clip from a deranged interview.
She's a radical leftist. She's a Marxist. A lot of people don't know what a Marxist is, so you could say communist. Not the same thing, but it's close. She's very bad for this country. She will destroy this country.
I have said this so many times. The reason I want another debate between Voice, President Harris, and Donald Trump so badly isn't even to see VP Harris mop the floor with Donald Trump again. It's because I'd like her to ask him the simplest questions. Define Marxism. What is a tariff? And see him absolutely melt down. Because as we know with Trump, whenever he says someone doesn't understand things, whenever he says people don't know what Marxism is, people don't know what communism is, it's because he actually doesn't. It is always projection from Donald Trump. And he continues to project and really admit just how much he has lost it in this interview. Well, as we will continue to see in this clip.
It's a beautiful thing, but it's got a bad image. It needs you to fix the image. A tariff, we stop wars with tariffs. I mean, I had cases where I told a country they were being very aggressive with another country. It had nothing to do with us. I just don't like seeing dead people, okay? And they were going to go to war. And I said, if you go to war, and they do a lot of business with the United States, I'm putting 100% tariff on everything you do, any business you do with us. No, this has nothing to do. I said, it does have. I stopped a war. Will I get Nobel Prizes? Never. I mean, look what we did with the Abraham Accords, how good that was. But you can stop wars with tariffs. The word tariff, if properly used, not stupidly used, but we used them, and that was when our country was the richest. And, you know, a lot of people say, well, but you had the Depression in Well, the tariffs were put on in 1932. The Depression had long started. We went to the income tax system. We would be able to cut taxes for the people in this country and charge other countries for the use of our country, for the pillage of our country, for the taking of our jobs, because that's what they're doing. And nobody's protected our country. So when I say,
I don't know what war Donald Trump is claiming he stopped with tariffs, which he always says are the most beautiful word, quite frankly, such a beautiful word. But this really just shows how deranged and out of it he is. He's still having fantasies about his presidency, pretending that it was a success. This is what we always say about Donald Trump. He only looks two places inward at himself in his own complaints and grievances, and backwards at the things that upset him and wanting to pull us back. But as Kay says, we're not going back. We are not going back to Donald Trump's attacks on our democracy, attacks on our economy, and attacks on our immigration system. As much as Donald Trump wants to fear monger and push his conspiracies like he did right here.
And they're trying to get those people to vote, Larry. They're trying to get those people to vote, just so you understand.
Oh.
They're trying to get them on the voter rolls. They want to put them on the Social Security rolls, which will destroy Social Security. This is the worst president in history. This is the worst administration in history. And she's worse than him. And actually, it's going to be hard to say this because he's pretty bad. She's actually less bright than he is. She has no clue what the hell she's doing. That's why she never does an interview. She never does a press conference, because she can't talk. I watched Oprah, where she was interviewed on Oprah. She can't talk. She can't open. She can't. How do you deal with President Xi of China, who's a fierce person? Somebody said, what's he like? He's a fierce person.
This is the main lie of MAGA and Donald Trump as we go into this final stretch of the election, that Democrats are trying to get illegal immigrants to vote. It's just not true. And any illegal voting, any election interference we've seen or we saw in 2020, guess who it came from? Donald Trump, when he attempted to overturn our election, when he not just attempted to vote illegally once or twice. No, he tried to steal the votes of millions of Americans by overturning the vote in Wisconsin, Michigan, Georgia, Arizona, Pennsylvania, attacking our democracy, as we saw new evidence revealed from Special Counsel Jack Smith this week. He tried to attack our democracy, not immigrants in this country. And that is the conspiracy that we have to continue to call out and shut up from Donald Trump, similarly to the ridiculous lies he pushes about tariffs and his failed economic agenda, which we can see right here.
Run by stupid people that allowed us to get into this situation. And it's about time these other countries play a little ball with us. And all I want is fairness. And if they're fair, we have something that you've never seen in this country till, I mean, literally the 1880s, the 1890s. But that was the time. You know, you hear about wealth, but we were giving a lot away for a long time. That was the time we were the richest. We were so rich. And it was all based on tariff. There was no income tax. It was all based on countries coming. And if you look at some of McKinley's words, he was very beautiful in the word, we will not allow the pillage of our country.
Donald Trump once had to ask his advisors who the good guys were in World War I. Yes, that is a true story. He did not know who the good guys were in a war that we fought, but Donald Trump claims to be big history buff when talking about beautiful tariffs in the golden age of the 1880 and 1890. I don't think that we should trust Donald Trump on anything, much less the economy, considering he crashed it worse than any president in the modern era. And another thing we shouldn't trust Donald Trump on is education. Clearly not a smart guy. Himself didn't take even his own SATs. And so when he talks about wanting to slash the Department of Education, I think we shouldn't just laugh at off, but should be scared. Like what happened in this clip right here.
You not only cut spending, I think you can take a strong look at some of these agencies, and you know the ones I'm talking. I mean, I mentioned them a moment ago that really are not doing their job. They've become very political.
Well, the one thing we want to do is education. We want to move education back to the states.
Right.
We'll spend less than half. You have to see Washington. It seems like every building's Department of Education.
Project 2025 isn't just about changing our government. Donald Trump wants to implement his stooges, his cultists in our government. Not to change it, but to destroy it, to take it apart bit by bit. And that starts with the Department of Education, and that should scare us all in the same way that Donald Trump would crash our economy with his mass deportation plan, with his beautiful tariffs plan. And so when Donald Trump pushes lies like this, it's just so ridiculous.
But just so you understand, if you followed her policy, you will end up in a 1929-style depression, 100% certain. And companies will flee, and jobs will flee, and everything's going to flee. We're going to have you won't have a country left. And she's the only person I've ever seen that is campaigning on a massive tax hike.
Remember when this guy said President Biden would crash the economy, he would tank the stock market. Well, where is the stock market today? Oh, that's right. Hitting all-time highs, hitting historic highs because of the Biden-Harris boom. So I don't think I'm going to trust Donald Trump's 1999 or 1929 style depression lie anymore, because it's the same one he has been telling for years. And of course, like I said, it should scare us all of his economic agenda and his domestic policy, but so should his foreign policy, especially with statements like this.
We have been helping countries, we're still helping countries come back from the Second World War. We helped Korea come back from the Korean War, but we never did anything about it. In other words, we've been helping them for many, many decades. It's time we stop. They're a money machine. It's time we stop. And be fair, but it's time we stop. We are helping countries.
But you would work a deal out with
Yeah, work a deal. I can work a deal. I already did. I worked a deal, and then they gave it away.
You worked a deal out with
Biden
Japan
gave it away.
in return also.
Biden gave it away.
Yes.
They agreed to pay me billions of dollars. It was all done. They started paying. Then when he came in, they cut it. And I hear that they're paying nothing again. They were they happy? Were they thrilled? Would they say they like me as opposed to like a Biden where they can get ripped off? You know, I can't imagine they'd say they love me.
South Korea is still an ally of the United States.
Sure, it's an ally, but you know, on trade, it's not an ally.
Right.
On trade, it's an enemy.
This is a guy who would willingly turn his back on America to help dictators like Putin, saying that we shouldn't be helping our allies anymore. That should absolutely terrify us, especially with all of the former national security advisors to Trump coming out against him and telling us he is a danger not just to the country, but to the world. And so we are going to continue to call that out every single day on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you're stuck around at the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.